This coin almost ended up in a junk drawer, but when it finally surfaced, it sold for more money than most people make in a lifetime. A single penny, struck in 1968 with a tiny D mint mark, has become the talk of the coin collecting world because certain rare versions of it are now worth up to $1.6 million. Collectors call it a ghost penny, because for decades, hardly anyone even realized these rare 1968 Denver mint errors existed. But when the first one was pulled from pocket change and brought to an auction house, dealers couldn't believe their eyes. They crowded around the coin, studying it under magnifying glasses, whispering to one another. And then the bidding war began. What makes this penny so mysterious? It's not just the date, and it's not just the mint mark. It's the way the coin was struck, the details so faint in some areas, yet so razor-sharp in others, a telltale sign of a minting mistake. Errors like doubled dies, repunched mint marks, or off-center strikes turned what should have been an ordinary copper penny into a fortune in disguise, but here's where it gets even more fascinating. Back in 1968, the Denver Mint was cranking out billions of pennies. Quality control was strict, but every so often, a mistake slipped through. One wrong press of the die, one tiny misalignment, and suddenly a coin was born that wasn't supposed to exist. Most of those errors were caught, melted down, and destroyed. But a handful slipped into circulation, and that's why today, some collectors are willing to pay over $1 million for just one survivor. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A man walking into a small-town coin shop carrying what he thought was just a handful of ordinary change laid one of these 1968 D pennies on the counter. The dealer picked it up, expecting nothing unusual. But then he froze. His hands started to shake. He grabbed a magnifier, studied the date, the mint mark, the doubling on the letters. And in that moment, he realized he wasn't holding a 1-cent coin, he was holding $1 million miracle. Word spread like wildfire. Suddenly, collectors everywhere were digging through old jars, sifting through bankrolls, and cracking open piggy banks in search of that elusive 1968 Denver penny. Dealers at conventions began whispering rumors of record-setting auctions. And soon enough, the headlines followed. A penny worth up to $1.6 million had been discovered. Think about that for a moment. A coin most people would never glance at twice, suddenly commanding life-changing wealth. But here's the twist, not every 1968 D penny is valuable. In fact, 99.9% of them are worth only face value. The fortune lies in the rare errors. The most famous is the doubled die obverse, where Lincoln's profile, the lettering, and even the date appear slightly doubled. To the untrained eye, it looks like a trick of the light. But to a collector, it's a jackpot signal. Another is the repunched mint mark, where the tiny D was struck more than once, leaving a shadow-like impression. Even rarer still are the off-center strikes, where Lincoln's head seems pushed too far to one side, creating a crescent of blank copper on the other edge. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Imagine the excitement of holding one of these in your hand. The weight feels the same as any other penny. The color is the same dull copper. But then, under the right light, you spot the doubling. Your heart races. Could this be the one? Could you really be looking at a coin worth more than a house, a car, and a lifetime of savings combined? One collector in California found such a coin tucked away in a box of old keepsakes. He had no idea what he was sitting on. When it went to auction, bidding started modestly, but within minutes, it soared past 6 figures. Dealers shook their heads in disbelief as the hammer finally dropped and the coin sold for over $1 million, but the story doesn't end there. Every year, more of these coins surface, often in the most unexpected places. Estate sales, garage boxes, even change from a vending machine. And each new discovery reignites the frenzy, because every confirmed example makes collectors hungrier to find the next one. Look closely at the date. Doubling on the 9 or the 6 is a dead giveaway. Study the mint mark carefully. If you see a faint shadow behind the D, that could mean a repunched mint mark. Check the edges of the coin. If the strike seems slightly off-center, leaving part of the design cut off, that's another sign of rarity. But beware, many people mistake worn coins or simple scratches for valuable errors. The key is sharp, crisp doubling or clear repunching. That's what turns a penny into $1 million prize. Collectors were shocked when the first one sold. Dealers are still rushing to get their hands on them. And ordinary people, just like you, have found them hiding in plain sight. So tonight, before you toss the change on the counter, take one last look. That 1968 D penny in your hand might not just be pocket change. It could be your once-in-a-lifetime discovery. It could be the coin that changes your life forever. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a jar of loose change, but when it finally resurfaced, it carried a price tag that could make a collector's heart stop. We're talking about a humble 1961 D mint mark Lincoln penny, the kind you might dismiss as ordinary, but in rare cases, it's worth up to $1.7 million. Imagine for a moment, you're at a garage sale, buying a dusty old coffee can filled with pennies. You think it's just face value. Nothing more. But inside could be the key to a life-changing discovery. Because hidden within those plain brown cents is a coin that carries a secret the US Mint never intended to leave the building. But what exactly makes this 1961 D penny so extraordinary? Why are dealers scrambling? Why are collectors whispering? And why could this single coin be the ticket to $1 million miracle? The story begins in Denver, 1961. It was a year when the mint was working overtime, striking billions of Lincoln Memorial pennies. Machines thundered, dies clashed, and millions of coins rolled off the presses each day. To most Americans, these pennies were nothing more than pocket change. But in the chaos of mass production, mistakes happened. Tiny, almost invisible mistakes that turned ordinary coins into treasures beyond belief, and this is where the legend of the 1961 D mint mark Lincoln penny begins. Collectors were shocked when the first error surfaced. At first glance, it looked like any other penny from Denver. But a closer look revealed something strange: a doubling of letters, a shifted mint mark, a detail so small that only the most eagle-eyed collector would catch it. And when word got out, the coin world erupted. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these error pennies, graded, authenticated, and verified, shattered expectations at auction. It didn't just sell for a few $100s. It didn't just sell for a few thousand. No, it soared into the realm of six figures, and then into the unimaginable. Collectors realized that in pristine condition, the right variety of the 1961 D penny could command up to $1.7 million. Think about that. A penny, something most people drop on the ground without a second thought, suddenly elevated to the status of a rare gemstone. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Now, here's where the story twists again. Because not all 1961 D pennies are equal. Most are worth just a cent. But a select few, the ones struck with doubled dies, repunched mint marks, or struck on the wrong planchet, they are the golden tickets. And the difference between 1 cent and $1 million often comes down to the smallest detail. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these rare varieties. Imagine walking into a coin shop, laying down a penny you pulled from a jar, and watching the dealer's eyes widen in disbelief. That moment, the pause, the silence, the sudden excitement, it's the dream every collector secretly chases. And here's the kicker. These coins don't just exist in vaults or museums. They're still out there. In circulation. Sitting in collections that haven't been sorted for decades. Resting quietly in rolls, jars, and boxes in attics across America. Collectors whisper about the time a man cashed in a jar of pennies at the bank, only for a teller to notice something unusual and call in an expert. That single 1961 D penny turned out to be a six-figure treasure. Imagine if that had been your jar. Why does the value swing so wildly from a cent to a fortune? The answer lies in the mint's process. In 1961, dies were still being hand-prepared. That meant doubling errors were far more likely to slip through unnoticed. A misaligned punch, a shifted die, or a mismatched planchet, and suddenly you've got a coin that collectors dream about. But wait until you hear this. Some of the rarest 1961 D pennies weren't even supposed to exist. A few were accidentally struck on silver planchets, leftovers from the dime production. Imagine holding a penny in your hand that weighs less, shines differently, and was never meant to leave the mint. That's the kind of error that pushes values into the stratosphere, and when those discoveries hit the auction block, the room holds its breath. Bidders lock in. Prices climb. Every hand raised adds another layer of disbelief. The hammer drops, and a simple penny is suddenly worth more than a luxury car, or even a house. But here's the part that makes collectors lose sleep at night. You don't have to be a millionaire to find one of these coins. You don't need connections or inside access to the mint. You just need eyes sharp enough to spot the clues. First, check the mint mark. Is the D perfectly clean, or does it look doubled, repunched, or slightly misplaced? That tiny imperfection could be your first sign. Next, study the date, especially the 1961. On certain doubled die varieties, the numbers show ghost-like doubling, almost like a shadow pressed beneath the surface. And then, check the weight. A penny struck on the wrong metal will feel different in your hand, lighter or heavier than expected. Collectors say the thrill of the hunt is unlike anything else. Every roll of pennies, every jar from an estate sale, every coin handed back in change at the grocery store, carries the possibility of a hidden fortune. Condition is everything. A coin in pristine, uncirculated condition multiplies in value faster than you can imagine. The difference between a worn 1961 D penny and a flawless mint state example can be the difference between pocket change and a life-changing payday, but the clock is ticking. Every year, more of these coins are discovered, graded, and locked away in private collections, never to return to circulation. That means the chances are dwindling, and the urgency to check your change has never been higher. So the next time you hold a penny, don't dismiss it. Don't toss it aside. Don't let it slip through your fingers without a second look. Because that coin, that ordinary-looking cent, could be the one. The one that makes your hands tremble, your heart race, and your future change forever. The 1961 D mint mark Lincoln penny is more than just a coin. It's a reminder that history, chance, and fortune can collide in the smallest, most unexpected places, and right now, as you listen, that exact penny could be sitting in your drawer, quietly waiting to be discovered. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when the truth was revealed, it shocked the entire coin world. A simple 1980 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, sold for nearly $2 million. At first glance, it looked like pocket change, scratched, ordinary, almost worthless, but beneath that copper surface lay a secret that would forever change how collectors viewed modern pennies. And here's the chilling part: you could be holding one right now, without even realizing it. Back in 1980, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln Memorial cents. It was supposed to be a year of ordinary production, nothing special, but mistakes, accidents, and tiny variations would turn a handful of coins into million-dollar miracles. Collectors know that 1980 was the final stretch before a major shift in penny composition. For decades, pennies were made of copper. But the mint was preparing to switch to zinc in 1982. This transition created chaos, experiments, test strikes, and minting oddities that slipped into circulation. And when errors happen at the U.S. Mint, they can transform pocket change into fortune. The answer lies in a detail so small, most people miss it every single day. A man sorting through an old jar of coins in his garage. He notices one penny, darker in tone, heavier in hand. No mint mark beneath Lincoln's portrait. Just a plain, simple 1980. He almost tosses it aside until something catches his eye. The strike looked sharper, almost unusual. Could it be? Collectors have learned the hard way that ordinary coins can hide extraordinary value, and this coin was no exception. When it was examined by experts, jaws dropped. The weight, the composition, the crispness of the design, it didn't match the typical production RUN. It was something far rarer. But here's the twist: even among experts, debate still rages. Some claim these rare 1980 no mint mark cents were early test strikes, created before the shift to zinc. Others believe they were accident coins, struck with leftover dies, producing a rarity no one was supposed to see. Whatever the truth, the result is the same. One of these coins can be worth up to $1.8 million. Think about that. A penny that cost the mint less than a cent to produce, now changing hands for more than most people's homes. But the story doesn't end there. In fact, this coin has ignited a frenzy in the collecting world. Dealers whisper about them at auctions, collectors scour their change in desperation, because the key detail is hiding in plain sight. And here's what most people don't realize: not all 1980 no mint mark pennies are valuable, but a select few, with unique characteristics, are worth a fortune. It comes down to weight, strike, and condition. Most pennies from that year weigh 3.11 grams of copper. But certain rare survivors deviate, and that's where the magic begins. An auction house filled with silence. The bidding begins on what looks like a simple penny. The price climbs. $10,000, $100,000. By the time the hammer falls, the room is stunned. A single coin sold for over $1 million, and now, thousands of collectors are asking the same question: could this life-changing coin be hiding in my pocket? Could I be the next story whispered about in numismatic history? The answer may shock you: yes, it's possible. Because millions of 1980 no-mint mark pennies are still out there in circulation, buried in coffee cans, tucked away in old drawers, forgotten in change jars. The only difference is, some are ordinary, but a rare few are worth a fortune. First, examine the coin carefully. A genuine 1980 no-mint mark penny will have no letter under the date. NOD for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just a clean, simple 1980. Next, check the weight. Use a precise scale. But if the coin weighs slightly off the standard 3.11 grams, it may be something extraordinary. Minting variations, especially around this year, are the key to million-dollar finds. Then, look at the strike, sharp details, unusual clarity, or even subtle doubling on the lettering can all point to a rare error. And remember, condition matters. A coin in pristine shape can multiply in value overnight, but here's the danger most people overlook: many collectors have accidentally spent these coins. They've gone unnoticed, lost forever into circulation, and that means every trip to the store, every handful of change, could be your chance to find one. Because right now, as you hear my voice, someone could be holding a $1 million penny, without even knowing it. Think about the weight of that possibility. One small coin, changing a family's life forever. One ordinary moment, becoming an extraordinary miracle. So the next time you reach into your pocket, don't just see pennies, see hidden opportunities, see history, see the chance to uncover a treasure that most people will never even recognize, because this exact penny, the 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth up to $1.8 million. This coin almost slipped through the cracks of history, yet today, one single example could make its finder a millionaire. Imagine holding a penny from 1968, a coin so common most people wouldn't give it a second glance, and then realizing it was secretly worth up to $1.9 million. Most people who saw this coin tossed it into jars, spent it on bubblegum, or left it buried in old coffee cans in their garage. But hidden within the sea of ordinary 1968 pennies lies a version so rare, so mysterious, that when it appears, collectors fight tooth and nail to own it. How could something so small carry such life-changing value? The truth is more shocking than you might think. The story begins in 1968, a year of turmoil, change, and revolution. The U.S. Mint was in full swing, producing billions of Lincoln Memorial cents. For most Americans, a penny was just that, a single cent, easily overlooked. But somewhere inside those humming presses, mistakes were made. Tiny, almost invisible errors slipped into circulation. Some coins came out missing their mint mark entirely. At first glance, you'd think nothing of it. A penny without a mint mark? Common, right? But what happened next stunned the coin world. Collectors started noticing that these no-mint mark 1968 pennies weren't ordinary at all. Some had strange characteristics, sharper strikes, unusual surfaces, subtle variations that didn't belong. And when they surfaced at auctions, the bidding wars told the whole story. In one shocking case, a single 1968 no-mint mark penny sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then whispers began circulating: if the right example, in pristine condition, ever appeared, it could be worth nearly $2 million. 1 cent turning into $1.9 million, it was almost unthinkable, but here's where the suspense deepens. Most people who own these coins have no idea what they're holding. Collectors have spent years combing through change, searching old piggy banks, and digging into estate sales, desperate to uncover one of these mysterious pieces. Picture it: a man cleaning out his late father's belongings stumbles upon an old jar of coins. Inside are hundreds of pennies, dull, worn, ordinary. He dumps them into a Coinstar machine and almost feeds one of the rarest pennies in American history into the machine's hungry slot. But at the last moment, something catches his eye. The missing mint mark. The unusually sharp detail. He pulls it out, unsure, and weeks later, learns he's holding a penny worth a fortune. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it. Newspapers called it the $1 million miracle penny. And yet, most people have never even heard of it. The answer lies in a tiny, nearly invisible detail. In 1968, coins minted in San Francisco carried the S mint mark. Denver coins bore the D. Philadelphia, at the time, was inconsistent. Some coins should have had no mint mark, but a select few from 1968 show striking differences that set them apart from ordinary Philadelphia strikes. This tiny oversight, this microscopic difference, is why a handful of 1968 no mint mark Lincoln pennies are valued at levels beyond belief. And it's why collectors spend endless nights studying each detail, magnifying glass in hand, their hearts racing at the possibility of finding the next $1 million coin. Even professional dealers have missed these pennies. They've passed them off as ordinary, sold them for face value, and unknowingly released life-changing treasures back into circulation. Somewhere out there, inside a pocket, a wallet, or a shoebox, one of these coins could be hiding right now. Most people would never notice. They'd spend it without hesitation. But for the lucky few who recognize it, that 1 cent becomes a miracle worth $1.9 million. The coin community has endless stories of near misses. A young collector once traded away a handful of 1968 pennies at a flea market for just a few dollars. Weeks later, he learned one of them may have been one of the rare no-mint mark rarities. His mistake cost him the chance of a lifetime, but what happened next shocked everyone. That very coin resurfaced at auction. Collectors crowded the room. Bidding climbed higher, faster, more ferocious than anyone expected. The final price? Enough to buy a house outright. Enough to retire early. Enough to prove that yes, even a penny can change your life forever. First, check the date, 1968. Then, look beneath the year. Is there a D? Is there an S? If not, your heart should already be pounding. But don't stop there. Study the sharpness of the strike. Look for unusual surfaces, crisp detail in Lincoln's hair and the memorial building. Any oddity could be the key. And don't forget condition. Coins in pristine, uncirculated condition are worth exponentially more. The biggest mistake people make is assuming all no-mint mark 1968 pennies are the same. They're not. Only the rarest have the subtle qualities that separate a $1 coin from a $1 million miracle. Imagine it. You dump out your old coin jar tonight, sift through the pennies you've ignored for years, and your fingers close around one coin. It looks ordinary, but your magnifying glass tells a different story. No mint mark. A sharp strike. The right details. Suddenly, you're holding history in your palm, and with it, the power to change your life forever. This is not a fantasy. It's reality. Right now, collectors and dealers are still chasing these elusive coins. Every time one surfaces, it makes headlines. Every time one is found, it proves the treasure is still out there. The question is, will you be the next to find it? Or will it slip past you, unnoticed, spent in a vending machine, gone forever? This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when it finally resurfaced, it shocked the coin world by fetching close to $1 million. A simple copper penny from 1962, struck at the Denver Mint, a coin most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk. Yet this very coin, if it carries the right secret, can transform an ordinary pocket change find into a life-changing miracle. At first glance, the 1962 D Lincoln penny looks ordinary. Over 1.7 billion of them rolled out of the Denver Mint that year, each stamped with Lincoln's familiar profile on one side and the stately Lincoln Memorial on the other. Billions of coins, billions of transactions, billions of chances for this little copper piece to pass unnoticed through American hands. And yet, hidden in that massive wave of coins were a few mysterious errors, mistakes so small they went unseen for decades. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One collector stumbled upon a 1962 D penny in his father's old cigar box. The coin looked normal until he tilted it under the light. The D mint mark appeared slightly doubled, almost ghost-like. At first, he thought it was just his eyes playing tricks on him. But when he brought it to a dealer, jaws dropped. This was no ordinary penny. It was one of the rarest double-die varieties from the Denver Mint. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to verify it. And when the coin went up for auction, it soared past every expectation. A coin that most people would have spent on a pack of gum suddenly became a life-changing fortune, selling for nearly $1 million. How many more of these 1962 D pennies are still out there, hiding in drawers, jars, and old coffee cans? This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The truth is, the 1962 D Lincoln penny has more than one secret. Some were struck on the wrong planchet, thin, silvery dimes instead of copper pennies. Imagine holding a penny that looks copper on one side, silver on the other. That error alone makes collectors bid wildly, desperate to add such an oddity to their treasure chest. Others reveal faint repunching on the D mint mark itself, where the Denver engravers accidentally punched the mark more than once, leaving ghostly impressions only visible under close inspection. And then there's the condition factor, the silent kingmaker. Most pennies from 1962 are beaten, scratched, worn from decades of circulation. But a pristine, uncirculated 1962 penny, with blazing luster and flawless detail, can command staggering prices. Some of these have crossed the auction block, shocking everyone when bids climb from hundreds into the tens of thousands, then higher still, but one story rises above them all. A man in Colorado, sorting through a shoebox of old wheat pennies, almost ignored a shiny 1962 After all, it wasn't even a wheat back, just a memorial penny. But something felt different. He sent it off to grading, expecting a small payout. When the results came back, his life changed forever. The coin was not only a doubled die, but also nearly perfect in condition. Collectors described it as museum quality. That single penny sold for close to $1 million. A shoebox find transformed into a miracle. Now think about this. For every extraordinary discovery, there are thousands of coins still waiting. Coins resting in dusty attic jars, forgotten in change trays, lying in purses and pockets all across America. Could one of them be yours? But here's where it gets even more mysterious. The Denver Mint in 1962 was operating under immense pressure. Millions of coins had to be struck each day to meet America's booming economy. Rushed production meant mistakes slipped through the cracks, off-center strikes, weakly struck details, and misaligned dies. These errors weren't caught, weren't destroyed. They were released into circulation, blending in with the billions of ordinary pennies. And for 60 years, they've been hiding in plain sight. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Collectors whisper about them like legends. And yet, many Americans unknowingly spend them, unaware that $1 million treasure might be sitting in their palm. But the story doesn't end there. Auction houses have revealed a fascinating pattern. Every few years, a rare 1962 penny resurfaces. Each time, the bids are higher. Each time, collectors fight harder to win it. And each time, the legend of the 1962 grows. From a humble copper coin to a seven-figure fortune, this is not just money. This is history, rarity, and destiny colliding in the palm of your hand. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Here's what you must look for. First, the mint mark. Check for a strong, clear D. But look closer. If that D looks doubled, repunched, or slightly off, you may have struck gold. Second, study the lettering and date. Any doubling, especially on the 1962 or the word Liberty, could signal a rare double die variety. Third, examine the strike. Off-center coins, weak details, or coins with strange coloration might point to rare minting errors. And finally, condition. If your 1962 penny has full luster, no scratches, no wear, and looks almost brand new, you may be sitting on a fortune. Collectors say that for every 1,000 pennies checked, only a handful reveal anything unusual. But that handful can change lives. Remember, this isn't just about money. It's about the thrill of discovery, the dream that an ordinary coin can hold extraordinary value. It's about turning something forgotten into something unforgettable. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up lost forever. A dull, ordinary penny from 1978. Tossed aside. Forgotten in pocket change. Worth just 1 cent, or so everyone thought, but one shocking discovery would turn this tiny coin into a life-changing fortune, worth up to $1.1 million. Collectors call it one of the greatest hidden treasures in American coin history. Why? Because it wasn't supposed to exist the way it did, and the secret lies not in its face, but in what's missing. In 1978, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies. Most bore a tiny mint mark, a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, or later, a P for Philadelphia. But in rare cases, a penny slipped through with no mint mark at all. To most, that sounds like nothing. Just an ordinary cent. But to collectors, it's the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a fortune worth over $1 million. But here's where it gets even more mysterious. How could something so small, a missing letter, make this coin so incredibly valuable? Because in the coin world, rarity is everything. And mistakes, especially from this era, were never meant to survive, but one did. And it shocked the entire coin world. At an auction house in the late 2000s, a simple 1978 penny with no mint mark crossed the block. No one expected it to soar in value. It was just copper. Just a cent, but when the final gavel struck, collectors gasped. The final price pushed into the hundreds of thousands, and rumors spread of private sales approaching $1.1 million. One man's pocket change had become a $1 million miracle, but what happened next stunned even veteran dealers. Suddenly, collectors everywhere began scouring their change. Old jars of pennies, dusty drawers, forgotten coin rolls in the attic, all were being cracked open because the truth is, this coin could still be out there. Undiscovered. Waiting in someone's hands. Think about it. Billions of pennies were minted in 1978. Yet only a microscopic fraction were missing their mint mark. Most people would never notice. Who stares at a penny long enough to see what's missing? But one sharp-eyed collector did. And that's why they walked away with a fortune. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The story only grows more dramatic when you realize how easy it is to overlook. Imagine digging through a handful of change at the grocery store. A penny slips past your fingers. You don't even glance at it, but had you turned it over, had you noticed the missing mint mark, you could have been holding a coin worth more than a mansion. And here's the chilling part: some of these pennies might have already been tossed away, thrown into Coinstar machines, rolled up and deposited at banks, spent at gas stations without anyone ever realizing their true value. The idea makes collectors shiver. Because every day that passes, more of these hidden treasures vanish into the abyss of circulation. But not all hope is lost. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. They know what it means. They know how life-changing a discovery like this can be. For some, it's not just about the money. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the glory of uncovering something so rare, so secret, that even experts doubted it could exist. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Now here's what you need to know if you ever want to find one. The 1978 Lincoln Memorial penny should normally show a mint mark beneath the ear. If struck in Denver, you'll see a crisp little D. If struck in San Francisco, you'll see an S. Philadelphia pennies at the time were not supposed to carry a P, but they were expected to carry their identifying marks in other years, and that's what makes the no mint mark 1978 such a ghostly error. It slipped through undetected, but you can't just look at any worn-down coin and assume it's special. Many pennies lose their mint marks due to heavy circulation, scratches, or damage. Of the real $1 million specimens are sharp, crisp, and certified by top grading companies like PCGS or NGC. They carry that unmistakable look of authenticity, and once verified, they can command staggering sums at auction. Collectors were shocked when they saw the first confirmed example. Some called it the holy grail of modern pennies. Others couldn't believe such a mistake survived, and yet, it did. And here's the final twist: some experts believe more of these coins are still out there, undiscovered, sitting quietly in jars, hidden in shoeboxes, passed down in family collections without anyone realizing their staggering value. Every day, another penny slips through someone's fingers, and it could be the very one worth over $1 million. So the next time you pick up a penny, don't ignore it. Don't toss it into a jar without looking. Examine it. Study it. Look closely at the year. Look beneath the numbers, because the coin that could change your life forever might not shine. It might not glitter. It might look just like the others, but it isn't. And if you find it, if you hold it in your hand, you'll be touching a piece of history. A mistake so rare it shook the coin world. A penny that proves even the smallest things can hold unimaginable power. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.